All right, full stack one lab test. So we're just going to, we are just going to use this, we are going to build a static interface using what we learned from HTML and HTML5 and CSS. Obviously, this is open book, right? You can use all of the all your labs and solutions and the entire internet. So we have so basically what we want to do is build a static interface, no JavaScript at all. So we're just going to build a static page. And so we want to build a payment screen with markup and then adding the CSS to it. So kind of high level snapshot there, but I'll show you the working version. So here's some HTML requirements. Obviously, we want it to be a valid HTML document, doc type, and those type of things. Some information about the title, and the header, and these kind of things, and then kind of about the design and what we're trying to get around to it. Border around, entire content, smaller header, with some other information about it. A form, so remember it's got to be a form field with some information about labels and different kind of controls, input text boxes, and a select input for months, so you can have all the months or at least 6 of them. Expire year, and then a text box for the security code, CCV. Help text should be a block quote HTML tag, so you can, more on that later. And then you can add some HTML attributes that give built-in validation, if you remember that. It's not about scripting. It's not about scripting. In validation, HTML5 can control that. Include some images for credit cards. So these are some links. If you look at those, they're quite huge, and you will actually, if you look at them, they're like 1280 pixels. You'd have to shrink them with some attributes. Or you can download some smaller GIFs and include them locally in your project if you want to, and I'll refer back to this working version here. So you can see here, it doesn't do anything. It's just static. In fact, if I refresh it here, you can see here the border around everything. And I have American Express is cut off. That could be a little bit better, but you can see there are three images there that are kind of smaller. And then the text box and things like that. Month, list of months, list of year. These are select inputs. And then you can see here, this is like the block quote text that you can have and target to make it smaller. And then we have an order summary here. It's all static, right? If we're clicking on that, it's not going to do anything. Yeah, I mean, aside from the validation. So validation would be these fields are marked, right? If I add something in there, I'm not really testing the type of numbers in there. It just kind of marks that they are required, right? As you're clicking through it, it'll bring the focus. Now this should be done by HTML automatically. If you add those correct attributes to it. So yeah, so that's that. So then order summary is basically a small header with some labels, and this is hard-coded text. So it's basically this here. This is just text. It can be any price. Again, it doesn't matter. I mean, these numbers are what you want to fill in. And then a button that kind of looks like this. It's 100%, certain color to it. It should have, what did I put? Sorry, on the fly here. Should contain, all right, so proceed to checkout, but really, I mean, if you just have checkout, it's not a big deal. So should it look like, so initially, if your HTML looks like this, I mean, if you're having trouble with the styling, you can get here, right? That's still worth like, 40% of you have valid HTML. Now, you can use those HTML tables and rows and columns if you have a problem trying to create this layout with CSS. You can certainly it's not wrong to just do tables here. It's fine. We haven't learned the more intermediate advanced stuff where you can make things flow, right? So if you need to do that to make this, that's fine. Perfectly acceptable. to do that. So CSS requirements. So again, these are guidelines. This is what I'm, I mean, mine have probably changed past it, have improved on this, but it's kind of like a baseline to help you out. But if you're developing and you're tweaking styles and things like that to make it look appear better or look like this, and that's fine too, right? It's more about using the proper selectors, whether it be element selectors, maybe you create classes for things. Um, you know, again, this is part of your approach. You could create styles for all the inputs and add these attributes. You could target the elements themselves. You could target the labels themselves. Maybe it'd be nice to have a class selector if you needed to. Some things might be across all components, all controls, right? So button will have the following attributes. Again, it should have the appearance of this. If you can make it look better going outside of this or adding more, then that's fine too. But try to hit these points if you can. Block quote selector. So if I say something like that, then yes, you do. So this would be for this small thing here, wrap it in a certain HTML tag, and then you can add quotes to it. I wouldn't just type the text as inline text. So you'd be using selectors. It says here most likely use a studio selector to add quotes around it. So we did that in the lab. Developer hint, hardest part of this task will be organizing HTML and CSS styles as you build your box containers with respect to padding and widths, right? As you're building this out, how are you going to make the padding and the margin and all of this appear that way? That takes a little bit of time. It does take time. So to do that. And then incorporated, so by the way, no CSS bootstrap, because we haven't learned that. It's kind of vanilla CSS. We incorporate Font Awesome into this a little bit. So you can see here this icon here and this little checkout box here. That was from Font Awesome. I put the link to the CDN content delivery link down here somewhere in here. So you can put that into your page. And then really what it's about is, again, with the image, the icons, search around, find what appeals to you, really. I pick some, and then look around and see what you want to add, see what's available to you. You could pick a fancy card or whatever, but just put it in there. Really, it's just about testing knowledge that you can link something with an absolute path and then incorporate it into your HTML. All right, so that was that. And then, so the final page will look like this, and this is broken down different parts. So, I mean, I took my inspiration from this other online shopping site called Best Buy. You get to the payment screen. This is kind of what it looks like. That's where I grabbed this. Again, we are not expected to create a working shopping cart. Only the static page. It shouldn't do anything. It shouldn't go anywhere. If you want to challenge yourself and make it look more like this, by all means, if you have time, go ahead. But this is where I took my inspiration from for this. Once you're done, you please zip up the code. It should be an external style sheet and a HTML file, and then put a README. Just get in a good habit of including a little README file that has your information in it. It's always good, especially for projects. Please put your name inside of the file because when I download it, I have the student name and number, and then lab tests or whatever. For me, it helps me a lot when I'm pulling down all of the student projects to mark. All right, so hopefully this adds up to 100%. Looks like it does. So implementing HTML is about 35%. The CSS is 40%. Font Awesome integration is 5%. And then there is points for styling. Like this means UX styling. It means if you can make this look better, meaning I don't know, maybe you have a very good design eye for this. I'm open to that. Make it look better if you want to. There's always, or you just do a very clean design. It looks clean like this. Everything is lined up. It's aesthetic. That counts, right? If you make it exactly like this, well, then you're in a good position, right? And then the last part is clean code and clarity. It's exactly what it states, right? You don't have like a lot of comments lying around. You don't have a lot of broken tags. Your selectors are meaningful and make sense, and they're organized in a good way. Yeah, I mean that's basically what you look at, and I always try to give feedback and comments when I'm marking this stuff. So that is the full stack lab test. You'll be given enough time to finish it, and I hope you guys do well. All right, good luck.